NRL Fantasy Team List Tuesday. We're into Tuesday, guys, and this is a big round. Second of the major bye rounds here. A couple of big curveballs coming through, and a couple of them are pretty predictable based on the pictures you can see at the top here. Now, first things first, guys. Tommy Turbo returning, it seems. So I'll get down to that team list in a sec, talk about him. That is a necessity for my fantasy side. I really need him to come back. And up against the Titans, I think he absolutely kills it. I got Tamalolo, not as fantasy relevant here, but the Cowboys do need him. Sam Walker comes back. He will be next to Hugo Savala. Now, Hugo Savala up next to Sam Walker. Sandon Smith is on the bench, as well as Zach Docker-Clay. So it's a bit of a weird bench for the Roosters, but it looks like Savala will play next to Sam Walker, which is great news. And Galvin, I think we'll get the start here with Burton 18th man for Origin. Now, just quickly, I'll hit this up. Let's see what we got here. So we got AFAX. Yo, how's it going, man? Good to see ya. Ahmed, hey, Longy. Looking good as always, mate. I'll take that. I'll take any win in that department. Trent Hubner or Savala. I'll probably try to keep both if I could, man. Let's go, Longy. Believe in Niko Hines. He's killing me, eh? Bo comes in. Longy, my second favorite bald person behind Stone Cold Steve Austin. Mate, maybe I'll do a Stone Cold Steve Austin celebration and you can see both of them in one. That could be pretty sweet. Then should be studying for business studies, but I've got priorities straight. Look, business is all about practical experience, man. I'm a commerce major myself, so I studied economics and marketing at uni, and I can say that from experience. Like all the study for business, it's important, but you need to get hands-on, and fantasy sports is where that's at. And Jacob Safiti's still out, trading Haas out. We got Alua here as well, Butters. Let's go. Aiden, love your work, mate. Munster for Prime Minister. I love the hype, guys. Love the hype. I can't share them all, but there's a lot of good stuff coming through. Bald Eagle. Kraz playing in the centers there. Yeah, for Steve Crichton, I guess. And then, Jack. Well done, mate. Beat me by 4 points. Well, you're the king this week, but I will come back in hot. All right, let's go into these team lists, guys. So before we do turn to the team list, though, I've got a few things to talk about here. The Blues and Queensland team list. So for this matchup here, we've got Ponga, Coates, Toya, Holmes keeps his spot here, and the hammer there. So no Murray Talangi into the team is interesting. I thought Murray Talangi might sneak in potentially, or there might be something else there. But Val Holmes in is great news for all of us who have Nathan Lawson in our teams. Forward pack here for the Queensland Maroons. Fodawaker Grant, Big Tino, Cotter still on the edge, and Capewell and Loiero. I think this is a bizarre team list. This is a really weird team list for Queensland. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but no Corey Horsburgh is very strange to me. Running Cotter and Capewell on the edge when you could have Bo Firma and Jeremiah Nanai, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. Look, I'm not, Loiero over Carrigan, I think is bizarre. For the Blues here, King comes in to start as we expected, and on the bench there, Ataka Manu comes in. 18th man, Matt Burton, Ezra Mam. So Burton won't play for club. Kalamatangi and Lindsay Smith will play for club. So don't stress that too much there if you're a Kalamatangi owner, but for Burton, not great news for you Burton owners, is it? So that's the Origin teams there. Look, we can do a deeper dive into that. If you guys want that, just drop a note in, but otherwise, let's just tear into these team lists here. So round 15, let's go first. We got the Sharks and the Dragons here. And for the Sharks, we're looking at Will Kennedy at fullback, Katoa, Ramian, Hiroti, Mulatalo in the back line there, Trindle and Hines in the halves. Niko Hines, we've got to talk about him. Fanua, Blake, Brayley, Kafusi in the front row, then Nakora, Wilton, McInnes in the back row. Interchange is Atkinson, Colquhoun, Talakai, and Halmanuele. So pretty settled side. Look, the Sharks don't make too many changes week to week. They're pretty happy with what they're doing. So, I mean, what do we have to talk about here for the Sharks? Like, the Sharks play this bye round, and they don't play round 18. So if you covered this bye round, you're probably not buying too many Sharks players, and most of them are a little bit out of form. If you were a team who had a bit less cash in the bank, something like that, you might go with someone like Jesse Ramian or something like that. But just because it's a discount, really. Other than that, I mean, if you look down the list here, Niko Hines is getting a bit cheaper now as well. Hines in my side. I look around and there aren't that many guys I really want to upgrade Hines to. So I'm just sort of looking at it like, I don't know what I'd do there. I think this matchup against the Dragons as well is not a bad one. So the Dragons just came off conceding 50 points to the Dolphins. The Sharks should open them up here because the Sharks got belted by the Warriors, like totally embarrassed by the Warriors. And a few of you guys are mentioning here, Sharks suck, team of frauds, Ireland in fantasy. That's the reputation they're developing right now. And they were a team who were, comp favorites coming into the year. So you'd expect them to heat up as this goes along. And they're missing basically no one. They're at full strength there. The Dragons are a team that's a bit fragile right now. I would expect the Sharks to light it up. So I'm going to confidently start Adam Fanor-Blake on my side, and I will keep Niko Hines as well. I got to give him this one last week. This is round 15. It's a major bye round. They've come off a really bad loss. This is his chance to bounce back. If he bombs this week, then we can think about selling next week. But until then, I'm not really desperate to do it. So for that Sharks team, it's pretty light there. I'll just quickly shout a few things. Iro, pec injury there. So, bad news there. It means Harodi is pretty sure to get a spot there. Piakura to average more fantasy points than Hines for the season. And Piakura, if I was choosing between the two to start this week, Piakura's not playing, right? But I would consider Piakura. He's pretty of a weapon there. Then can't believe I brought Cook in and traded out Jazz. Oh, look, Cook will come good. But selling Jazz once he got moved to prop was a rough call there. I'm looking at AFB and Radley. I've lost faith in AFB. Looping. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that move. That's a decent move. Hines will be my new Munster. Look, I haven't actually talked about selling Hines yet. But Munster is my current Munster because I still have Munster. I kept Munster. NRL knows firing up. Sharks, Jacob the Club, asking questions about Jazz. We'll get that too. And Stewart. Let's get into the Dragons here because I think they're a bit more interesting. So the Dragons, Nakora, probably not. The Dragons are interesting. They're playing both of the major bye rounds remaining, right? So they play round 15 and round 18. You got to pay a lot of attention to round 16. So not this week, but next week. If you buy too many players for this week, you might end up in a tricky situation for next week. So just keep an eye on that, but otherwise should be sweet there. But the Dragons are high on my list because they do play round 15 and 18. So I myself bought Toby Couchman and Nathan Lawson last week. Lawson was at the bottom of my bench. He's not a guy I'm starting. And he's not a guy I'm starting this week either. So I'm not too stressed about his scoring there. He's a cash out who covers bye rounds and can be a bit of a loophole play. Now, for the Dragons here, we got Gutherson at fullback, Lawson, Sully, Corey Allen, and Tyrell Sloan come in to the team. Then King Tongia and Flanagan in the halves. Forward pack here, Gula comes back with Cook and Clemmer. Back row is Luciano Lilua, Couchman and DeBellin, and then the interchange is Little, Stewart, Pacific Tonga, and Hame Sele. So looking at this team first thing, you'd expect that surely at this point, I've said this a couple of times now, but surely Luciano Leilua plays big minutes here. Like, who else is the back rower in this team? There really aren't many options there. So I'm expecting Luciano to play big minutes. I think the middle forward minutes might be a bit constricted here because Clemmer's been playing about 50. Gula's a guy who was playing 50 earlier in the year. DeBellin can play plenty. Stewart, Pacific Tonga played 40 last week as well. Hame Sele can play a few. It's going to be a little bit less enticing there. So either Luciano is the big winner or something else strange happens here, which I'm not sure what to expect. Now, one thing I do want to flag with you guys is Nick Sagranis. There's a lot of talk that he will debut this week. A lot of talk he'll debut. So if you're making trades with this Dragons team, just remember that Sagranis might debut, and he's usually an edge back rower. So he might take some minutes off Luciano or something else might happen there. Outside of this, a lot of questions about Stewart here. So Ruben asks here, from Ruben from Tackle Talk there, Stewart named on the bench, what to do. Stewart's a pretty solid PPM guy, but the PPM has fallen off a cliff a bit recently. So I don't know. I'm looking at Stewart and just thinking, I think it's okay to sell him at this point if you wanted to. If you have a good trade lined up, you can move Stewart. If you've got the cash to use and you've got the ability to go to someone better, move Stewart. I still would pencil Stewart in for like a 40-point game here. I still think he should be solid, but the being dropped back to the bench, it probably means he's more in that, a bit of that prop rotation, a bit in the middle there at lock as well. I would say you pencil him in for like a 35 to 45-point game. So feel free to, do what you want to do with Stewart there, but I probably personally would move him. Tapane Couchman. I think Couchman is an upgrade on Tapane. So if this is the only way you can get to Tarpanay, it's a decent trade. There are better guys to sell. I'm still pretty firmly keeping Tarpanay on my side, but if you just have this trade lined up, then you can pull this one as well. Flanagan looking for anything to not play Leilua. Yeah, Leilua, it's weird that he's not wanting to play him for big minutes. He's running a lot of different strategies here, and that's why I'm not fully trusting it yet. Would you buy a good half like Campbell so you don't have to start King Tongia? I think that's worth the upgrade there. King Tongia is like a 30, 35 kind of guy, and Campbell is like a 60 guy. So, yeah, make that move. It's about 25 to 30 points of upgrade. Thoughts on what to do with Haas? I'm holding Haas myself. Who would you sell him for, right? Like I've already got Koloamatangi, Couchman, all these guys. So there's not a big benefit for me in selling Haas. But if you are short in cash and you're going to use the money well, then you can sell Haas. He should have a relatively quiet next month of footy. So not the worst move. Worth shouting here. Tarpanay plays around 18. The bet you kill. Feel for you, bro. Bit lonely without the bro on the stream with you up, mate. It's all good. There's 500 of us here, so not a worry. I'll just be talking in the comments a lot more to be transparent. But Monty's off in Europe at the moment. A couple of months over there, so he's having a belter of a time. Monty went up the ranks last week too. Thoughts on Loco? Need a mid around. Yeah, I like Pacific Tonga right now. Look, the changes to the forward pack are not great. These like bringing Gula back is not good news at all for Pacific Tonga, but it seems like he's getting more and more minutes there. The issue is they're not winning games. So even with him playing pretty well, I wouldn't trust him as a week-to-week starter. I'm sort of, as I think about it more, I think that I just don't really see the purpose of getting him. That's the issue with Loco Pacific Tonga, because he's not going to be a guy you start week to week. So, you know what I mean? What are you going to do with him, right? You're not going to start him. Even this week, you wouldn't want to start him. You'd want something better. So I probably wouldn't be getting on a guy like him unless you need the cash out for another trade. And the bench doesn't look good for Cook, Little and Cook on at the same time. Oh, I think we will. They were winning games when they were doing that strategy. So my expectation is that they will. Yeah. Is Cook still a buy? If you are in need of a hooker, then he's probably one of the best options here. Jaden Brayley is weirdly there as well. But yeah, really you go on Cook. So I don't mind him at all. All right, let's keep tearing through. I'll just answer this one too. Do you coach, manage for Hills? I used to play for Hills. So I used to play for Hills like a couple of years ago. So this was rugby union, by the way. So Hills Rugby Club. I played a little bit at Hills Bulls as well, like league, but I mostly played union actually. So like, I went to a school that played union over at Oak Hill. Same school as Luke Keary and Ryan Pappenhausen as well, but they ended up playing league. I definitely wasn't good enough to make the heights they made, but yeah. So let's keep tearing through these teams, guys. So Titans v Seagulls up next. And actually, just let me know, guys, in the comments, did anyone else play a bit of footy as well? And if you played footy, what position did you play? Or what position do you play right now if you still play? Now, let's keep tearing through these teams while I wait for those answers. But we've got Titans and Seagulls here, and I think this should be a pretty sweet matchup for a lot of fantasy options. I think this should be a bit of a shootout here. We should see a lot of attack. So for the Titans first, and I do see Jazz Tavanga, by the way, so I will get to that. For the Titans, we got Brimson, Khan-Pereira, Kelly, Sami, Fitzgibbon. In the back line there, then we got Foran and Campbell. Okay, so not too many major changes here. Forward pack here, Jolliffe, Mulaney, Campbell-Gillard in the front row, and then Randall, Firma, and Cleese Haas lock. There might be a swap with Haas and Randall, potentially. I'm not really sure what they're going to do there. Then Alec Bianchi, Famasali, Patston, and Simpkins on the bench. Okay, so this forward pack for the Titans is pretty light compared to what they're used to. I just want to check too. Do we have Dave Fafita on the extended bench? We do not have Dave Fafita. Also, I thought Armar Howe was really good last week too, so I'm surprised he's been dropped. Verrills on the extended bench could come back in. So anyone who's thinking about Mulaney, I wouldn't do it. Now, for the Titans here, it's really about Jaden Campbell, right? Like that's what we're thinking about. Are you buying Jaden Campbell is the question. And the answer is he's a great option, right? He dropped a bit of cash. This is the last major buy round he plays. So if you want to get Campbell, I think now's a great time to do it. He probably drops a bit more cash this week, but the Seagulls aren't a defensive juggernaut by any means. And I don't see them like clamping up the Titans in this game. I will say though, they are closer to full strength than they were when Parramatta smashed them in the first major bye round. So DCE in this team, you got Jake Trbojevic playing as well. Ola Kawatu gets to play, staying in clubland here too. So for them, Bullimore, Takiaho in the front row, Jazz Tavanga on the bench now with Simpkin, Waddell, and Brown. Saab comes back in too. Lehigh Pawadi out is a big loss, but overall, this is a pretty strong Manly side. So I don't mind Campbell at all, but I'm not tearing my team apart to get him. And personally, I'm probably not going to get Campbell on my side because I've got a few guys like, Tommy Turbo and Garrick, for example, who are inferior scorers but have a good matchup here. And I think the more I look at it, the more I feel like the Seagulls will pick apart the Titans here and, cook them. I just don't think the Seagulls will shut them out. So I think the Titans will have their chances. Campbell will go 50 plus, but the Seagulls are going to run up some big scores here. So before we go into Manly, I'll just quickly answer some of those hits here. So what position did everyone play? Did anyone answer? Noah goes there. O'Kill, Meg. Awesome. I finished at O'Kill in 2012. So we're schoolmates separated by like 15 years, mate. CDC a hold if you have no hooker. Yeah, if you're desperate. Dave, another O'Kill, mate. There's a few of us floating around, eh? We got a winger here. That's sweet. What position did I play? I played lock, forward, or edge back row. So in league, it was mostly edge back row. In union, I played number 8. So like mostly lock forward. A little bit of center too, but I was a bit lazy for center, if I'm being completely honest. More of an attacking player. Sometimes didn't defend as much as I should. Basically the 7 there. We got union here too. Yeah, nice. Prop for the Pat Tigers. That's sweet. Fullback mostly. Union now. You've got a lot of footy players here. Played league, fullback till 13. Oh, yeah, it's a tough game. A lot of fullbacks. Wow. Everyone's a fullback. Is this just a lot of wingers saying that they played fullback? Because that's usually what I remember happening a lot of the time. Yeah, prop second row. Got a few AFL players too. That's sweet. Yeah, me and Jazz, we're basically, I'd say we're about the same age as well, actually, me and Jazz too. So that would be pretty funny to get us in the same room. But yeah, for Manly, let's get into this team. So we got Turbo, Saab, Kohler, Garrick, Talau in the back line. Brooks and DC in the halves. Pretty much full strength here for them, there, except for Lehigh Pawadi not being there. Then Bullimore, Croker, Takiaho in the front row, Olakuatu, Burbo, and Gerbo in the back row. So again, missing Paseka is the big one there for them. Simpkin, Tavanga, Waddell, and Brown coming in. So for the Seagulls, I would say that you could probably expect Jazz to play pretty decent minutes in this game. So I'm a Jazz owner myself. I'll stick with him. I think we stick with Jazz. Like he's going to play, 40-odd minutes there off the bench at the prop spot. He might move into the starting team late. Like they had a good win last week. So maybe they didn't have a good win. They had a good start last week and then they lost. But when Jazz was on at the start, they were killing it, right? So I think they'll give Jazz some minutes here. But yeah, I think Jazz will still score us between 30 and 50 points here. Like he'll be reasonable. And at hooker, it's not worth buying another hooker if you have Jazz Tavanga already. Tommy Turbo owners like me, let's get into it. Like this is it. This is a good matchup. Turbo has had a good rest there. He had his cork thigh, 2 years ago or whatever it was. No, it's a couple of months ago, and came back and played sort of half strength and didn't get better and took a couple of weeks off, and now he's good again. So this is the game we want Turbo for. I think Turbo will kill it. I think Garrick is a guy you start confidently as well. DCE is a pod if you really, really want to take a speculator on a super pod. It's very risky because he has been scoring a lot of 30s as well. So not convincing, but a definite pod potential guy. Olakawatu is a reasonable option to consider if you do want a pod in the back row, but don't force it if you already have enough guys there. And I think Ewan Aitken's a better option anyway than Olakawatu. Now, let's quickly hit some questions here on the Titans and Seagulls and a couple of AFL players here. Locks, best for round 15. As in lock as in middle forward, or I would say Kolomatangi is the best guy, right? He's the best option. But yeah, Kolomatangi is probably my captain this week. Fullback in the league, playing flanker in union. yeah. Look, flankers a fun spot anyway. I played a bit of 6 as well. Can't keep up with number 7s. Then 5'8". Got a lot of wingers. Sanders, a bit of flanker. Number 8, nice. Beautiful. That's a good spot. Ruck Rover, AFL there. We're at Tigers. We got second row. Nice. Give some lock tips, Longy. All right, so some lock tips. The big thing is you want to be roaming around behind the big boys. So you got those, especially the big Islander boys who are creative and, a bit of fun with the ball in hand. You want to be running right behind them, get that offload, and you get those one-on-one opportunities, and that's where you sort of make your big breaks. So, yeah, just hit holes over and over again. Just keep hitting holes, and you'll bust through more than you don't. So that's what I used to like to do. Cool. So for the Seagulls here, look, pretty straightforward. Again, I think Turbo, if you're desperate for a wing fullback and you want a cheap wing fullback, Turbo this week, if you need one this week. Reece Walsh next week is not insane either, but Turbo is 400K. So I'm not against this as a speculator at all. I jumped on Turbo in round 12. He scored a 40 in a game where they got smashed. They won't get smashed in this game. They'll get up in this game for sure. So, yeah, Turbo is your big pod there. DCE buy. Good question there from Josh. DCE historically has absolutely killed it, but this year he's been really quiet. If you think he'll respond to this news of getting dropped from Origin, well, then yeah, he should be a good shout. I could see DCE popping off for a big score here, actually. He'll really want to run this one up, and he'll be in Queensland as well. So, yeah, I reckon he'll absolutely kill it. Got a half with Mayo stats here. Yeah, I used to count my stats as well sometimes. Aitken or Firma. I would go Aitken myself. I think we have enough centers right now. So the center dual position isn't that much of an advantage for Firma. Aitken covers both major buy rounds as well, whereas Firma, to be honest, Firma should be in the Queensland side, so he might make it for game 3 too. Tamale to Turbo. It actually banks a bit of cash there, making that trade. I don't mind this at all. Good shout. Who's the best cheapie that will make money? Probably Turbo. I'll cover that in buy, hold, sell. So we do a whole cheapie section in buy, hold, sell. But if you have any specific players you want me to look at, let me know. But yeah, otherwise we do the cheapies and buy, hold, sell. Another upset. You did nail that Knights one. If you're back in the Titans again, let me know, Noz, and I'll consider switching my tip because you've been nailing them. Filling holes. Like, take a job at Brisbane. They need your coach, mate. I'd love to do like some film breakdowns. So like, obviously I'm very stats based, right? So I think a bit of film and a bit of stats. Like, some of the teams need a bit of that injected into their sort of methods. So yeah, no, I'd be down. If anyone here is from a club, hit me up. I'll be a statistician. Cleary is sell. Cleary misses 3 of the next 4 games and the next 2 games. So Cleary's going to miss a bunch of games. If you need the cash, I'm okay with selling Cleary. I just don't need the cash. I look at my team and I'm like, I'm going to keep Cleary myself. But if you need a cash injection, then you can sell Cleary 100% because he's going to miss a bunch of footy over the next month. Duncan or White? Duncan is the safer option going forward. White, it's a bit tough because the Roosters are back at full strength, so I would target Duncan for sure. Turbo or Walsh? Well, I mean, they're both carrying some injuries, both some injury concerns, both out of form. It's probably a question of, do you believe in Manly or do you believe in the Broncos more? And do you need a wing fullback this week or next week? So if you're believing in Manly and you need a wing fullback this week, it's easily Turbo. If you're a believer in the Broncos, then go Walsh. But it really is about the team success. Like, those guys will both live off their team success. So you saw Walsh, right, running in some easy tries at the end of that game, on the back of the team success. Like, he wasn't having to do too much. He was getting set up for those. So, it's pretty sweet. But I went Turbo myself just because of the buy coverage. Covers all these major buy rounds. Hold Brimo. I think you hold Brimo this week. Use him in a loophole. See what happens there. Should be a good shout. Turbo or Tedesco. Teddy is the best of the best. Turbo's cheap. So if you can afford it, definitely Teddy. Is Drinky still a buy? I'm actually looking at buying Drinky myself. So I can afford one trade this week to go Tamale to Drinkwater. I'm strongly considering it. I'll wait and see what happens. So I'll put Turbo on the loophole. I'll put Turbo on my loophole, and then I will sit Tamale in the starting side. And if Turbo kills it, I probably won't buy Drinkwater. But if Turbo is quiet, I'll get Drinkwater for sure. So that's my shout there. Would you go Turbo over Drinky? I think Drinky is the better option. Turbo's missing a lot of games. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses more games. Drinky has an uninterrupted run. So I'd go Drinkwater over Turbo. But Turbo could easily outscore Drinkwater this week, and he's a cheaper price. So if you don't want to take a risk and you want to use the money elsewhere, don't mind this Turbo move. Purdue for Turbo. I think Purdue is due for a big game as well. Actually, that's probably a good segue. Let's get across to the next game here. We'll get into the Cowboys. I think they're up next or after that. Okay. So yeah, let's keep tearing into these games though, and then we can go through sort of the more specific speculators here. But they get the Knights and the Roosters game. For the Knights, Fletcher Sharp back to fullback. No Kellen Ponga playing here. We got Schiller back to the wing. That's his best spot. That's his best spot, not centre. Then Gagai, Fletcher Hunt goes to centre there. Greg Marzu. Then we go to Hastings and Cogger in the halves. So Hastings makes his return. If you're in a draft league and Hastings is available, you should go get him right now. Forward pack here, Croker, Brayley, Brady Jones in the front row, Lucas, Kai Pierce-Paul, and Phoenix Crossland at lock. Matt Arthur, Thomas Cant, McEwen, and Celesa Lamona on the bench there with McCarthy, Tyrone Thompson, Teague, Greason, and DeCourcy on the bench. Okay, so for the Knights here, it's Fletcher Sharp to fullback. That is very hard to predict. All right, so he's had a couple of games at fullback this year, and the scoring range was 22 to 98. Right, so we really can't predict what's going to happen. Like Fletcher Sharp is going to throw himself at this ball. I think he's going to create plenty of opportunities. I think he'll score well. I'm not captaining him. I'm definitely not captaining him, but I think he will score very well. There have been a few little rumors and whispers that Sharp might have had a little bit of a calf complaint, like something like that. It's just whispers, totally unconfirmed stuff, but just keep an ear out for any news that does come up later in the week. Just keep listening out. I'll post it in Discord and on Instagram if anything is actually official. But I'm just letting you guys know there have been those little rumors floating around. So just one to be aware of. Don't panic. Don't change your trades. Don't do anything like that until it's official. But just one to flag. Then for the backline here, Gagai is an interesting pod. So if you are in need of a center, which basically no one is, if you're in need of a center, you could do worse than Gagai. Hastings is very expensive, so we're not going for him. Then in the front row here, Brayley. Yeah, so Frankie mentioned it here. Jaden Brayley, 300K. Look, Matt Arthur's on the bench there. This is interesting, though. This is very interesting. So I don't see the Knights running Phoenix Crossland at lock long term. I don't see it being particularly successful for them. They're losing Brayley at the end of the year too. So Crossland is their long-term hooker. But for a 1 week scoring cash out, Brayley, you could do worse than Brayley. You could do worse. Like if you were someone who maybe you own Starling, for example, and you need a hooker for this week, and a 300K cash out works for you, then this isn't the worst move. It's like 10% of teams where this is relevant. Like most teams wouldn't be relevant, but if it suits you, I'm not against Brayley. A few guys asking about Kai Pierce-Paul and targeting him. So KPP to Preston. Don't do that. Don't do that trade. Like that's a shocker. KPP is killing it, man. KPP is averaging nearly 60. So don't sell KPP. It's a lot of guys I would sell before KPP. Right? He's been an absolute machine. So yeah, you keep him as long as he's playing 80 minutes. You definitely keep Pierce-Paul in your team. Hosking to Curran. We'll go through that when we get to the Dogs as well. So that's about Curran there. KPP a potential pod or too late. I'm on the KPP Express and I'm loving the scoring. But at this stage, if you're buying someone at that price, you buy Jacob Preston instead. Very similar scorer, but covers both major buy rounds. So easier play to make there. All right, now for the Knights here, is there anything else? I mean, Dylan Lucas, he's playing well at the moment, so keep rolling with him. I'm not really targeting any of this Newcastle bench. So for the Roosters, let's tear into them. And there's some pretty good options coming up here. Jimmy Tedesco at fullback. We got Tupou, Smith, Noani Tuase, and Dom Young on the wing. This is the last week for Dom Young at the Roosters before he should move across to the Knights. My expectation there is the full-strength Knights will have Dom Young in that number 2 jersey instead of Schiller, and it'll have Braden Best in the number 4 jersey instead of Fletcher Hunt. So pretty lethal backline there with getting Dom Young back as well. But for this week, plays for the Roosters. Then Savala and Walker in the halves. So Savala wins that spot there. I would expect Savala to do the majority of the long kicking for the Roosters. I think in terms of fantasy scores, though, Walker is probably a less ideal partner. Sandon Smith was really letting Savala sort of steer the ship and run things, whereas Walker will be a little bit more dominant. So I'm a bit iffy on Savala's scoring this week, so just keep an eye on that. If you can loophole, try to do it. Zed asked a good question here. What's the rotation like? So actually, let me just cover the team, and then I'll cover this point here too. Because forward pack here, we got White, Ayelu, Fiketti in the front row, Egan Butcher, Wong, Radley in the back row, then Smith, Docker Clay, Steep, and Nat Butcher on the bench. So for this rotation, You'd think that one of them will come on and play the lock role, potentially. Maybe it's Sandon. It's definitely not Docker Clay. I'm a bit perplexed by this, to be honest. Like, so Sandon Smith, Zach Docker Clay, Aielu, none of these guys are massive units. I'm going to guess that Docker Clay comes on at hooker, plays a good portion of minutes at hooker, and Sandon comes on as a roaming lock, right? That's my expectation here. But in terms of fantasy relevance, it makes all three of them completely irrelevant. So you don't really have to worry about it. Is Sandon a hold? No. Sell. Come off the bench. Pretty firm sell. I love Sandon. I think he's a weapon of a player, but yeah, he's a sell. He'll leave the Roosters as well. Hopefully he comes to Parramatta. I'd actually rate him there. Is 6 bad for Savala? It's more that he's playing next to Sam Walker. I think the scoring will drop off a bit, but the Knights are a bit of a shambolic roster right now, so there's plenty of attacking stats on offer. So maybe he has a big score this week instead. We basically have to hope for some attacking stats here. Then I have a question, Longy, with Aielu. Do we think that he's a target player? When he started versus Sharks 2 weeks ago, he only played for a short stint. His PPM was good. Yeah, I'll look into him for cheapies, man. I'll check out the reserve grade stats as well. But right now I'm not fully sure on him. I'll check out the reserve grade stats because he should play 30-odd minutes in this game, maybe 30 to 40 minutes. Then Kyle comes in, Kyle Taylor, Savala lock when Sandon comes on. Totally viable, totally possible. So Savala has played in the back row before. So he could go into the back row there. That could be really good for him. So yeah, that's a good shout actually. That might be what they do there as well. Is Savala potentially goal kicking this week? There's a decent chance that he does goal kick while Sandon Smith is off the field. I think Sam Walker will be their long-term kicker, but for now, while Sam Walker's returning, yeah, Savala could goal kick for sure. Look, as a Savala owner, like I'm probably going to start him pretty comfortably. I might run a loophole with him potentially and see what I can do there, but they play pretty late in the round, so it's a bit of a tough one to loophole. Late to the party. Are we thinking couch pod captain this week? Yeah, actually, let me know, guys. Drop a comment in. Who are you captaining this round? For me, yeah, I'll throw some names at you as well, make it a bit easier. So Kalamatangi is the easy shout there. Toby Couchman is a good option as well. You and Aitken floating around, decent option there. Then you can go into the halves with like Isaiah Katoa or Herbie Farmworth. We'll talk about the Dolphins in a sec too. You might go to fullback and go with Tedesco, Drinkwater, Fletcher Sharp, one of these guys. But there's heaps of options here. Now, let me just have a look through. I always love doing these as well. So we got Keon, captain, Isaiah Katoa, Sharp, Kalamatangi, Katoa from the Dolphins, Kalamatangi here, Burton ruining your week. Yeah, it's a rough go. Kalamatangi, captain, Herbie from Nice, the big pod, nice. Kalamatangi, Katoa, Kalo or KPP, nice pod there. Herbie, I don't mind the matchup for Herbie, by the way. A couple of you guys with Herbie. Teddy, we've got Karaz here, Katoa. Preston, pod captain, buy and captain for Preston. I like that move. It's a ballsy move. Lucas, maybe. Keon clears. Yeah, okay, so a bit of a spread here. Preston or Kalamatangi. Metcalf for Sharp. Metcalf's almost a keeper at this stage. I wouldn't trade Metcalf for Hines. I definitely wouldn't do that. I'd probably keep Metcalf and try to make another move instead. Because the halves are average and Metcalf he's a killer, man. I've taken a while to come around to this. I'm coming around to it now. Colo, Herbie, yeah, Keon, Britton, Nakora, that's terrible. Keon or Karaz, Herbie, 8 trades left. We'll go to that in a sec. Keon, Lawson is captain, mate. Send me a screenshot, Riley. I don't believe you. Herbie, Docker Clay, Jaden Campbell, and then Campbell, Purdue, Campbell. Yeah, all right. There's heaps of these coming through. Lots of different captains, so I can't get to them all, guys. But and I'll finish that one, Chad Townsend. So, yeah, heaps of interesting options here. What's Sam Walker's price, by the way, guys? What's Sam Walker's price? Let me just have a look at this. Because Sam Walker actually might be vaguely interesting. I mean, he's coming back from a pretty major injury is the issue. 573K, probably not for Sam Walker. He's definitely not this week with him coming back, but maybe in future weeks if he gets hot. Yeah, probably not, though. I think Jarom Hughes, Jerome Luai, they're all better options there. All right, so outside of this for the Roosters, I mean, White, if you've got White still in your team, I think White is due for a massive game. So I think White should be good, even though he's coming back from injury. Saw Wong will be solid as well. But look, overall, Blake Steep, if you're in a draft league, Blake Steep's a decent option. And Nat Butcher, I wouldn't be surprised if Butcher came back into the starting side just with a late swap. They often do that with Nat Butcher. So just keep an eye out for that as well. But really, I'm not going to be targeting Nat Butcher. When is Jacob Safidi back? Should be in the next week or two. But if you have Safidi, I'd sell him for sure. An absolute sell. Is Cobo a sell? Yep, sold him last week. He's been dropped outright. He's got something up there. He's not one you want to keep. All right, rolling through the teams here. Cowboys and Dolphins up next, Saturday, 7:30. And then what do we got? We got the 4 p.m. on Sunday. And that's the last game. Sweet. So pretty quick one today with less team lists. We can do a few trade questions at the end as well. Cowboys and Dolphins. For the Cows and the Dolphs, Cowboys have got Drinkwater, Derby, Laybutt, Burns, Braden Burns back, nice. Murray Talangi in the back line. Then we go to Purdue and Clifford in the halves. Forward pack here is McLean, Lawton. So Carl Lawton, kind of interesting. Cohen Hess in the front row. McIntyre, O'Donnell, and Tamalolo in the back row. Edwards, McKaylee, Neem, and Lars on the bench. If you are desperate, there are plenty of options in this Cowboys team, but only if you're desperate. So first one, you don't have to be desperate for this one. Scott Drinkwater, this is a legitimate option. He is an absolute weapon. He will kill it in this game, I reckon. So Drinky is a great buy this week. I'm a fan. Jump in. For the rest of the back line here, it's more of a draft league sort of special. You're not really buying many of these guys in your classic team. Jackson Purdue, if you're an owner, I'm sticking with him this week. I'm looking at it. I've looked at it a lot, and I just think Purdue has a great chance of having a big score in this game. So I'm going to stick with Purdue for now. I will make a call later on. Like, if Purdue scores really poorly, I'll think about it. But if he scores okay, which I expect him to, then I'll have him in my team. Dolphins are not a juggernaut defensively either. So it should be a bit of a shootout here. So I think Purdue will have himself a game. Forward pack here, options here are Carl Lawton, Cohen Hess, Sam McIntyre. They're probably the three. Carl Lawton, a few of you guys mentioned it already. In fact, who was it? I can't find it now. It's shot right up the list there. But one of you guys mentioned Carl Lawton, pretty average at Manly in the hooker spot. From memory, he's like a 32 average in 60 minutes at hooker last year. I think it's a lower number, like 27 in 50 minutes or something like that across his career. So Carl Lawton's not a great fantasy scorer. If you're desperate and you want to get a guy, actually maybe it was 37, but he's priced at like 360K. It's just not that appealing. I'm personally going to say no to Carl Lawton. If you're going to get a guy who's a cheap cash out, I know he only plays one of the remaining games, so I'd probably go Jaden Braley instead and just hope for the best. But really, if you've got Jazz Tavangi, stick with him. If you don't have a hooker, you probably go with Damien Cook. But otherwise, yeah, I'm not a big fan of Lawton at hooker. I like Lawton as a player, but just not a hooker. Then Cohen Hess is actually one who's been a bit sneaky. He's actually at a pretty good price here as well. So if you're desperate for forwards and you want someone really cheap, I don't hate Cohen Hess. I like Tallis Duncan better, but Hess should be good through this period. Then McIntyre is a guy who normally scores all right, but more of a draft prospect. But really, in this Cowboys side, it's all about Scott Drinkwater. So I'll just quickly hit some of the questions here. So what have we got? Is it normal to not be making much money these past few rounds? Yeah, I wouldn't stress too much. It's the bye round, so you want to be grabbing scores, 100%. Are you sure about Cook this time? Man, Cook, he can go to center any given time, right? So they had injuries. He moved to center. He doesn't score well at center. It's part of the game, man. Like, if you want to get a guy who's a bit discounted, then they're going to be discounted for a reason, and that's a bit of risk, right? The other option is you can pay full price for players, and there's no risk really attached to it. So, yeah, I think Cook's still a good option. Cook's not on my side, but he won't play center every week, and it did not work for them last week, so I'm expecting him to be good. Tamale to Turbo or Nwani Tuase. I'd probably go... I'm leaning Turbo, like just for the upside, right? And look, Nwani Tuase is probably the better scorer, but Turbo for that upside. I think this is a good fixture for Turbo too up against the Titans, so don't mind that shout. And I'll just tear into this last game, actually, guys, before we go through. Last game, and then I'll answer some questions. So Rabbitohs and Bulldogs. Now, one thing you can do, by the way, if you have flexibility in your roster, you can run some loopholes and sort of see, how players score before deciding whether you take a certain guy. So if you ran a loophole in the back row for example, you could decide at the last minute, okay, you know what? I don't want that score. I'll buy Ewan Aitken. I'll bring him into the starting side. For the Bunnies here, we've got Jai Gray at fullback, no Latrell Mitchell. Johnson, Whiten, Tass, and Munro back to the wing. Sullivan and Humphreys in the half, so going to be a big week for Humphreys. Forward pack here is Arrow, Havili, Koloamatangi in the front row. Then Ewan Aitken, Tallis Duncan, and Hubner in the back row. Interchanges Moale, Kepi, LeBlanc, and Totola. So it's all big dog middle forwards on that bench. Minutes rotation is going to be very, very interesting. I don't know what they're going to do, actually. I think it's a little concerning, that bench. I don't know if I believe this bench. Who's on the extended bench? Campbell Graham there, Lewis Dodd, Fletcher Myers, Jacob Hose. Okay. I think there's going to be a change, and I couldn't tell you what the change is, but I think it's unlikely they run with this bench configuration because last week they ran Humphreys off the bench to play hooker, and with this configuration, it's probably Havili playing pretty big minutes at hooker. Maybe Hubner plays a bit of hooker. Yeah, tough one there. I don't know. I don't fully. I think there's going to be a change for the South Sydney side. For their team though, like if you're looking at players, I mean Munro. If you're desperate for a wing fullback, really cheap, he's probably one of the better ones at that 300K mark. I would rather Turbo if you can stretch a bit, like much better scorer. I'll go back to Dolphins in a sec, guys. But I'd rather Turbo, much better scorer than Munro. Outside of that, the back line's pretty light there. Jamie Humphreys, if you're a Humphreys owner, he'll score well this week, but in general, you're not super happy. So you stick with him this week and then you think about it next week. Koloamatangi, great captain option. Aitken and Duncan, I've talked about them as buys for the last 2 weeks. They've killed it both weeks, and I'm going to say it again. They're still buy. It's the same reasons as I've said the last 2 weeks. They're just more expensive now, but they're still great options there. And then, bench, not really targeting too much for South Sydney. Now let's hop back up to the Dolphins, then we can come back to this last game. Get too excited sometimes, tear through. For the Dolphins here, look, there's not too many changes, right? They're not affected by Origin that much. Max Plath is out for an extended period, so he's not coming to equations anymore. Marshall King comes back to hooker. Kurt Donahue at the lock spot is kind of interesting. But let's turn to the team. Averillo goes to fullback here. Asako, Feeney, Farmworth, and Bostock in the back line. Nikarima and Katoa in the halves. Forward pack here is Molo, Marshall King, Kafusi, then Finifuyaki, Orenkili, and Donahue. Interchange is Stone, Lemuelu, Nichols, and Kerr. Now, long-term injuries to Plath and to Tom Gilbert do change the equation quite a bit here. So you could play around with guys like Keeley, Kurt Donahue, these types of players, but they're a bit pricey now. They're a bit expensive now. So I'm personally not recommending them. But if you have a trade that works with those guys, I'm not going to talk you out of it because there is a potential that they can, pop off for an extended period. So I won't talk you out of it there. Now, any questions on the Dolphins, guys? Fire them through because I think it's pretty straightforward. This Cowboys matchup it's a pretty weak Cowboys side. They're missing a lot of Origin players. So I think defensively, the Cowboys are going to struggle in this one. For me, that means Isaiah Katoa and Herbie Farmworth are great shouts. And if we didn't have Koloamatangi, the must-have captain this week, I'd be considering probably Herbie Farmworth in this game. I think Herbie's going to have a massive game. I just think Koloamatangi, triple 80, like 80 in a row. He's been killing it, so I wouldn't be. A few questions here. Are you rating teams? Do you have to pay again in Discord? Yeah, so it's I'll just send the link in the chat. So I do the team ratings on Wednesday. You can either, Discord's free. You can jump into the Discord. There's about 3,000 people in there. It's popping. About 300 of the members are supporters of the channel. So if you do that, you sign up on the link I just sent through to the bottom of the chat. That's how you get into Rate My Team from me, where I give you that look at the team. I do that one on the live video, but also a bunch of written reviews. And we have a call on Wednesday nights as well, where we all talk fantasy, which is pretty chill. So feel free to join anyone who wants to jump into that. Free 10-day trial as well. So if you do just want to jump on, try it out, see how it goes, or you just want a rating for this week, you can jump in. You can cancel after a week. I'm easy at this time of year. Then saving the best for last. Yeah, we'll get into the dogs in a sec. The best. As a para fan, I hate you guys this week. Is Koloamatangi still a buy? Yeah, absolute must-have. Go get Koloamatangi. Hosking and Tamale to Couch and Lawson. Yeah, these are good trades. Good move. Aitken or Preston. Preston pod is very appealing. I'd go Preston myself. I've been burning for weeks getting Niko and then go Katoa. Yeah, you can have both if you want to as well. I don't mind that. Humphrey's a buy, YOLO. We'll talk about him when we get down to the Souths. And Sarko. So we talked about Sarko a lot, guys. So in round 12, we were talking about Sarko heaps. Sarko and Turbo were the two sort of cheaper wing fullbacks that Biz and I were really promoting. And everyone laughed at me about Sarko. And I went Turbo myself, which I'm not regretting. But Sarko has been pretty good through this period. So I think it's too late now, but it's just an example of a guy where you buy the guy low during the origin period and you get a bit of a return from them. Did you hold Munster last week? I did hold Munster last week, yes. I held Munster. We, at the last minute, made some changes. There were injuries that caused it, though. So, well, not injuries, but changes. So when Jazz Tavanga got moved to prop, it meant that I didn't need a hooker. So I didn't need Damien Cook, which reversed a couple of trades. So I didn't end up getting Cook. I didn't end up selling Munster. So I've kept Munster now, and I'm looking at my team. I'm probably going to keep Munster again. I'll think about selling him. We'll consider it, but you know how this one goes. NRL knows that's how this one goes. Munster stays. Of course he did. Excuses every week. Oh, yeah. I might put him in the sells section again just to take the piss. But look, if Munster, yeah, he may stay for the rest of the year. We'll see how he goes. It's hard to sell. I think for most teams, unless you're trading Haas, like if you were trading Haas and Tamale to Kalamatangi and Couchman, something like that, that's a great pair of trades. Like you're pulling the trigger on that. But I think for most teams, you don't need the money. You don't need the money of, Haas. So I think most teams are holding Haas. But if you're desperate for cash, go and do it. Go and make the move. Dean loves it. Gypsy, I love your bald headline. Mate, it's shined up, purely shined up today. So, we went to the bowling alley, dipped it into the ball shiner, and got it nice and glossy. Haas and Kautonga for who? I mean, the two I mentioned there, Kalamatangi, Couchman, Aitken, these types of players. There's heaps of options, man. Is Tyrone Munro a cash cow? It's a good segue. Let's go into South Sydney now. So, and buy, hold, sell. Munster photo until you get rid of him. Yeah. And then look, I guess this is a fair point here too. One of you guys mentioned this. Haas could drop down to 800K by round 21. It's a fair point. Haas is going to drop cash. He's going to drop cash for sure. I'm just not selling him though, right? I'm not selling him myself. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm looking at it like, okay, yeah, he's going to drop a bit of cash, but it's another 100K. I'm not selling him, buying him back. It's a couple of trades to sell and buy. So I wouldn't do it for the cash. I wouldn't worry about that. Just look at it and think, all right, if I sell Haas, can I use this cash to increase my scoring by 50 points a week for the next month? That's the question, right? And if you can increase your scoring by selling Haas, then go and do that for sure. But if it's about money, money's not that important. It's not that important. Like it's, cash in fantasy is big, but with a guy like Haas, I'm not stressing too much. Do I reckon Hectic Fred should shave his head? Yeah. I reckon he'd look good with a shaved head. Hectic. I reckon he'd look clean with a shaved head. All right, let's keep tearing into. Oh, here we go, Jack as well. I'll just shout this out too. Played Hills Bulls first year, front row, second row. Oh, nice. Yeah, 6'5" and 98 kilos, mate. You're taller and lighter than me, so put me to shame, mate. Put me to shame. All right, let's keep going through. So we got South Sydney and the Dogs. We talked about the South Sydney team. Look, Munro is a reasonable pod option at the wing fullback spot. He is purely a try scorer. So you're backing him to score tries. You're backing South Sydney to score tries. I think this week is not a great week for them. I think Munro will have a bit of a quiet game. But when Latrell is back and firing, he's a decent shout. For the rest of the team, the options here are Kalamatangi, must have. Ewan Aitken, Talis Duncan are fun ones if they suit your team. They're not in my team, but I've been putting them in the buys list every week because they're great options that cover a bunch of buys. And if you're short on forwards, they're a bit cheaper as well. So I like them a lot. Other than that, I'm not really targeting any of this South Sydney team. For the Dogs, we got Tracy, Wilson, Zeri, Carraz, Montoya in the back line there. Then Galvin gets his start with Sexton. Galvin's kind of cheap right now as well, by the way. Forward pack here, Curran, Marnie, Saluka, Fifita. Then we got Kickout, Preston, and Hayward. In the interchange spots, we have Turpin, Hayes, Hopoy, and Morin. For The Dogs here. First things first. Matt Burton, 18th man, not playing for the Dogs, only playing for the Blues, but 18th man, so you know how that is. 19th and 20th man will play for their clubs. So if you guys are asking about Koloamatangi, that sort of thing, don't stress it. Koloamatangi is going to play for club. It's only 18th man that doesn't play. So Ezra Mam for Queensland and Matt Burton for the Dogs. For the backline here for the Dogs, I mean, Kraz at centre, I don't think it really changes too much for him there. He does a bunch of work at either position. So I'm not going to be freaking out here. Like, if you want Kraz, you can get Kraz. He was carrying a couple of injuries last week, it sort of looked like. So that worries me a little bit. But in general, he is a very fun pod, and he should be good in this game. So I think Kraz will pop off. A few of you guys are asking about JC versus Kraz. I think JC is the better scorer, but Kraz is in some special form. JC, less of an injury risk right now as well. So I would go JC myself. Thoughts on Berto? Probably a sell at this point, Burton. If he's not playing for club, they have a bye in round 16. He won't play round 18 as well. He's the same as Cleary, except he's not an elite scorer. So I'd sell Burton myself. Then for the forward pack here, Preston comes back. That moves Curran back into prop. This weakens Curran's scores quite a bit. So Curran will be a less effective scorer at prop. If you're a Curran owner, get ready for a downgrade. For Preston potential buyers, this is a great time to do it. He's a super stud. He's a tier above Aitken, in my view, a very small tier above Aitken, a bit more expensive as well. Very fun pod, so I'm a big fan of buying Preston. I'm really not targeting the rest of this Dogs pack. I think it's only Preston that really comes into calculations for me. Hot Boy, by the way, is not the worst option either, but just not enough job security. So probably not the guy you're going to target. Needed 9 for buy rounds. Who should I target? Cook, probably. Cook's the one. Won't play center every week. Went Cleary to JC. Do I upgrade Tamale to Teddy, Drink, or Karaz? Yeah, you really have to think about this one. They're all good options, right? So I'm leaning towards, if you got the cash, probably Teddy. I think Teddy's the best of them. But if you want to save a bit of cash, it's Drinkwater. So I'm personally looking at Drinkwater because I can get there in one trade. But I think Teddy is the best of them. Karaz carrying a bit of injury. That's my concern there. Gus Crichton getting cheaper. Crichton could be a buy post-Origin, 100%. Definitely a cheapy option we could look at. Or cheapy, I say. He'll be like 580K. Smithy's to Preston, a good trade. Not a bad trade at all. Decent shout. Garrick is still a buy. Yeah, Garrick's going to pop off this week. He's cheap. I like Garrick as an option, 100%. Best scorer, JC or Herbie? Herbie this week. I'm going to go Herbie this week to score better, just based on the way I see these matchups going. Preston a buy, yes, 100%. Kraz didn't score as well at center last season. Yeah, he's just a machine who gets things done, though, so I wouldn't stress too much. Is he a buy at center? Yeah, I don't think the center tag affects him too much. I wouldn't overread into the positional change for Kraz. I just think the way he's playing footy this year, he's going to get himself involved and absolutely kill it. Don't need a wing fullback. Do I hold JC till he drops cash? Holding off JC. If you don't need a wing fullback, then don't get a wing fullback. But if JC is going to upgrade your scoring significantly this week, then go buy him right now. So I'd play him over like a Lawson or someone like that, even though it's center. But you know what I mean. Then Cleary and Foggs to Qatar and Preston. Not a bad pair of trades. I like this. I pulled trigger. How many people are playing this week? So it's only 13 players. So the week before and after Origin, every time, is 13-man squads only. So it'll be round 17 where we play a full 17, and then round 20 onwards. Other than that, it's 13-man rounds. Best wing fullback cheapie. We talked about a bunch of them during this, so I'll go through cheapies in buy hold sell as well. But off the top of my head, Munro is quite cheap. Turbo is actually close to a cheapie as well. There's quite a few options there. Tommy Talau, not really a shout. Lehigh Hopewadi will come back in the next game, and he'll take that spot. Jenkins to who? I wouldn't be selling Jenkins right now. Break-even's very low, so keep Jenkins, make some cash, enjoy the wave. Is Yongi or Pappenhausen a sell at all? Yongi is a sell. Pappenhausen is not a sell. Do not sell Pappenhausen. Stuff it. I'm buying Sammy Walker. Super pod, man. You can go with your pod. I don't mind that. This is the year of the pod, so tear him with that pod, man. Galvin, keep his spot when Burton returns. This is actually really bad news for potentially buying Galvin because you don't get the answer to that question. So he may play off the bench again. He may play really well and keep the spot. There's no way for anyone to know. But I would say that he will keep his spot. I will say I think he's going to win the spot. So that's how I see it. But it might take a bit of time. He might not keep the spot immediately. Overall, I'm going to say no to buying Galvin. Current or AFB? Neither, really. Both pretty inconsistent. I wouldn't target either of them. I'd either go cheaper or go top tier. Good hooker in the price range, 550 to 570. Who is there at that price? This week, it's all about getting a bit of cash together for Damien Cook, a bit more expensive than that, or going cheap like a Brayley type. Like it's just not a good position right now. You can also avoid hooker altogether if you wanted to, but I'd personally try and reach for Cook. Thoughts on Happy Coruscant? I like Coruscant next week. Nice little pod if you want to tear into that next week. Good shout. And Longy, what's good team value to be at? I'm not sure actually. Let me have a look. So team value. Actually, I'll just do it on the screen that you guys can see. So if we just go into this here, and let's just jump into rankings. Yep, let's give me a notification. What's the team values we got here? So for team value, you don't want to stress about that sort of thing too much. I'm at about 14 mil. The top teams here are 14.3, 14.5, 14.3, 14.1. You know what I mean? Like in that 14 sort of area. So if you're doing well at about at 14 plus, you're doing pretty well, I would say. If you're under 14, you're a bit behind. Yeah, you can see all these teams. These are the top teams, right? But they're all at that 14 mark. Some of them are a bit lower. Marvelous. I've seen him in the Discord. Love the display picture. Lamar Jackson, big Ravens fan myself. But yeah, you're looking for that sort of 14 million kind of mark. That's about where I am as well. That's what I'd recommend for you there. Cool. Then any other questions here before we finish up? Let's just see. 8 trades left after one. 8 trades is heaps, bro. 8 trades is heaps. With trades left, guys, you get 8 more trades in round 20. So I don't know. I just sort of look at it and go, like, what do you need trades for, right? Like, you need to fill your team round 15, round 18. You need to target your big dog guns. Now, my side has a full side for round 15. I believe I need 1 trade for round 18. So I'm looking at it and thinking, all right, I actually have a bit more trades than I really need right now with 8. I'm almost thinking I kind of want to burn a few of them now. But yes, it depends on where you're at, right? So if you're in a position, Sharpie mentioned 5 trades left. I know Azza is down to 1. Shout out to Azza with 1 trade left. That's going to be a tricky ride to the end. But, a lot of people have double-digit trades as well. I reckon you can burn your trades, guys. I reckon you can go through them if you want to. As long as you're upgrading your scoring, that's the big thing. It's not about cash. It's about scoring upgrades there. 13 left. You've got 300 trade levels left for nods. Yeah, heaps of options here. 1 point more than me in total from FPL. Mate, bravo. You're just ahead. How many trades are good for head-to-head? So this is probably worth covering. Different strategy for head-to-head. If you're a head-to-head coach, you need to save some trades. So head-to-head, you want to have double-digit trades after this week. You want to save a lot of trades as a head-to-head coach. So you need to make the finals, of course. Score well enough to make the finals, but then keep some trades because more trades at the end means you'll win your league. You need to be burning trades. What are my thoughts on Ethan Strange? Goal kicking, yeah, look, I think he's an option for next year. I think next year he may be one that emerges as an option and is a bit more dominant, but this year next to Fogarty, I have no interest in him at full price. Niko Hines is staying in my team, but I'm pissed off about it. But I'm a believer. I'm reluctantly a believer. I just don't love any of the other half options. Like I go spend a bunch of cash to trade into Isaiah Katoa or something like that, but I just don't see the point in it. So I'm going to keep Niko this week and make a call next week on what I do there. And then as mate, look, you're the man with 1 trade, all right? I'm just here to call it out. Hey, cheapies, we'll go through cheapies and buy hold sells, well, guys, but yeah, I've got to do some analysis on those. And then last one here, Taylor May, now a Tiger. Is he relevant? Taylor May will definitely be interesting. The issue is that Taylor May probably doesn't make their side because Adam Dewey and Stafford Toa are greater in the center spots than Jarrell Skelton and Taruva in the wing spots. So he won't immediately make the team. But if Taylor May makes the side at some point in the future, he'll be one that we target as well. right, guys, that's me done and dusted for Teamless Tuesday. Really, the big one here is that Savala keeps his spot. Probably plays a bit of back row this week, so you're definitely keeping him on your side. Lawson keeps his spot as well. Not a trustworthy scorer, but a guy at a loophole. And if you want to take a risk this week, you probably can do it because it's only 13 players, right? So rip in, guys. Tear in. Good luck this week. I'll see you on the next video. Wednesday, 7 a.m. Buy, hold, sell comes out as well. So make sure you check that out. That's where I've actually done my research and give you the real info instead of first reactions. Cheers, guys.